Welcome to episode 1 of the Followers of the Force podcast. I know what you're thinking. Is that John Williams playing the piano? Unfortunately not. That is me on the piano app trying to recreate the Force theme on my iPhone. If you enjoyed it, that's amazing, but I question then your musical knowledge, I guess, because that was terrible. Anyway, this show, which, as I mentioned, is the first in a series of many, we're just going to be covering all of the news in the world of Star Wars, or as much as we can get to before I pass out. I have about 4 stories that I wanted to talk about today. But I have a feeling I'm going to think of something halfway through, go on a tangent, and then this is going to be 3 hours long. Also, if you hear anything in the background, I'm watching The Force Awakens. For some reason, I can't record anything unless I have something going on in the background. I don't know why, because that has the potential to ruin the recording, but I don't care. This is a Star Wars podcast. I'm watching Star Wars. I'm surrounded by Star Wars posters and memorabilia, so I don't think you care, and I don't care. So anyway, let's just get on with it then. Alright, so the first story that I wanted to get to was the fan petition that's been started in order to get a Knights of the Old Republic series on Netflix. Now, this is a time period that fans have been wanting for a pretty long time. I think ever since the Knights of the Old Republic video game that came out with the Xbox, I want to say early 2000s, like 2003, 4. Because I used to have the game, although I never beat it because I was like 6 years old and never kept the game after that. It's a time period that there's a lot of cool stuff there that has been brought back in Rebels and Rogue One, like the Hammerhead Corvette, bringing back, the Darth Bane in Clone Wars. We almost got Revan, but unfortunately we didn't. So I'm gonna read a little piece of this petition that was started by, let me find the name really quick, Jasmine St. Philippe of Naperville, Illinois. So the main reason she started this, which the petition now has over 170,917 supporters. I signed it. I mean, I know that petitions usually don't do much, but at least it brings attention to what the fans want, so that's always good. Anyway, she writes, "The Old Republic era is a pivotal point in the Star Wars timeline because that's where everything changed, from the Jedi Civil War and the fall of Revan, the First Jedi Purge, and an omnipresent darkness that only watched the chaos from afar but also kickstarted the downfall. Our fan base would love to see this on Netflix, and I feel that you would enjoy creating and adapting these stories as much as we would enjoy watching them." I agree. Obviously, we've seen what Netflix has done with the Marvel series, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and now Iron Fist. And then soon to the next one that's going to come out is The Punisher. And then we're getting The Defenders. So I think there's definitely a market for it. That I don't think that's the issue. I just think whether or not it's the right time. I follow Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter. He's one of the main guys over in the Lucasfilm Story Group. And he put out this tweet. Let me see if I can find it. Where it was basically a snapshot of the Trump inauguration, of the people standing right in front of the Capitol. And or not the Capitol, wherever it was, I forget. And he just says, "Oh, look at the amount of people that want an Old Republic series." And in a way, he's right. 170,000 signatures really isn't much to garner writers, producers, directors, actors to, warrant this story to be told just yet. I think you need a more organized, I don't want to say fan base, but definitely a more organized plan rather than just fans telling you, hey, we want to see this and we want to see it now. I think there definitely has to be, some sort of plan going forward. We've only gotten our first Star Wars story, which did amazingly well, but I don't think they're going to base an entire Netflix series that who knows how long it'll be running. I don't think they'll base that off of the performance of one film. Plus, Old Republic stuff is more for the hardcore Star Wars fan, while the casual fan will just go to it because it's Star Wars. I think you need something to, I don't want to say get their feet wet, but something to slowly get them invested in the lore. And I think that's what they're doing that's what they did with Rogue One, that's what they're doing with the Han Solo movie, and whatever standalone movie they're going to announce at Celebration. So I think it's just a matter of deciding when and how they want some of these projects to come about. As for myself, I did sign it just because I'm one of those people that wants an Old Republic series. I think it'll do better on HBO, personally, because I'm also a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I think the Old Republic would fit really well in that style. I'm not saying you gotta go like a hard R like they do in the show, but definitely a more mature show and a more gritty feel and just more adult all the way around. So hopefully we get that soon. I think with all the storylines in the Old Republic video games and the Knights of the Old Republic role-playing game, I think these stories have their place, and even Dave Filoni was going to put Revan in Clone Wars, but then he didn't. So it's definitely in their minds more than we think. And I wouldn't put it past them to announce something soon. I'm not saying Celebration, I'm not saying around the time of Episode 8, but I give it 3 to 5 years before they announce something with the Knights of the Old Republic lore. But it'll be interesting to watch. They've done crazy things before, and how can I forget? They mentioned the Mandalorian Wars and Rebels when Kanan is training Sabine. So they're making these references in these shows on purpose, in my opinion. So the question of whether or not a lot of that stuff is canon is currently being answered. And like I said, it's only a matter of time before something like that is announced. And I think for a show or movie of the Old Republic, you got to get a director who's got like experience with that type of story. That's the best way I could put it. Like a Peter Jackson directing a Knights of the Old Republic movie in the vein of Lord of the Rings, or Catherine Bigelow with what she did with Zero Dark 30, or I don't know, just one of these directors who has a clear vision of what they want and who's had a lot of success doing it. I think something like that would be awesome, and I think we'd love it. You put Star Wars on anything, and we're going to go see it. We'll line up at 12 a.m. waiting for a 7 p.m. showing, and we'll sit there and we'll wait, and we'll get the best seats, and then we'll watch it 7 more times. So as far as money goes, I don't think that's the issue. It's just getting the right people together to make it. I think that's the only issue with it. But like I said, I hope it happens. I hope it happens. Another thing that happened this week was the announcement of Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson going to Star Wars Celebration. One of the things I found interesting, though, was the fact that that panel is going to be on Friday instead of Thursday. Because I remember last year, the Rogue One panel started on a Thursday. And although that celebration didn't have a lot of stuff in terms of news, it was still, by all accounts, it was still an awesome Star Wars celebration to attend. I'll be going this year for the first time in Orlando. Really, really, really excited for that. And yeah, it's just, now I have to decide, am I going to camp out that Thursday night to be able to get a wristband for the panel? Are they going to change the rules for that? I don't know. You know, the only emails I've gotten are to pre-order a Episode 8 shirt and some pins. So I think we'll start getting more information about that probably in mid-March, I'd say. But the only thing I'm looking forward to is, what are we going to get at that panel? I firmly believe we're going to get a trailer. I think we'll get the entire cast maybe showing up. Hopefully. I know Daisy Ridley's got a movie she's shooting right now. John Boyega seems to be finished with Pacific Rim. I think Adam Driver was working on something, but I'm not too sure. So I think the key players in that movie could make an appearance. They've already announced Felicity Jones, Ian McDermott, and Jeremy Bulloch in the autograph hall. So I hope they get a lot, if not the entire cast of Episode 8 at Celebration, because they had everybody there in Anaheim. So hopefully they'll do the same thing for Orlando. But man, I'm just waiting for that trailer. I know if I'm going to be sitting there with thousands of people, and then Rian Johnson throws up a trailer on the big screen, we're all going to cry. I'm going to cry. You know, the people next to me are going to cry. My dad's going to cry. And then we'll watch it again, and again, and again, and again. And that'll be the conversation for the rest of the weekend. Unless the Rebels panel decides to make freaking Mara Jade canon, and then that'll steal the show for their respective day. I don't think anything's surpassing the Last Jedi panel. I mean, if anything is bigger than that, then to me that's a failure on their part. You know, if you don't steal the show talking about Episode 8, getting Luke front and center, and finding out, you know, who Snoke is or isn't, who Benicio del Toro's character is, that is the one thing I hope we get at Celebration. That's the one person I hope is there above anybody else, and that's Benicio del Toro. You really haven't heard anything about him other than the report from MakingStarWars.net, where if you don't want to hear it, I'm going to put a spoiler warning right here. Skip forward maybe like a couple of minutes, but I'm going to talk about his character description for just a quick second. So, warning, here we go. So that report said that Benicio del Toro was his character all in black, and he was